SLT Mobitel, the connection. SLT Mobitel, the connection.
ලෙන්ගතුකම වැඩි කරගන්න ලව්ජු රුපියල් 50ට අඩු කළා.
මාමේ එන්න අපිට එකක් බොමු.
Tonight, political pretexts. China's UNHRC representative opposes human rights interference in sovereign countries in Geneva.
We reject acts of interference in other countries' internal affairs, undermining their sovereignty under the dishonest pretext of human rights.
Friendship and independence. Prime Minister Rajapaksa arrives in Bangladesh on a 2-day state visit.
As a neighbor and a close friend, Sri Lanka stands side by side with the Bangladesh to achieve greater freedom and prosperity.
Planning ahead. State Minister assures the public of sufficient vaccine stocks for second doses. All this and much more coming up on this Friday, the 19th of March 2021.
ඇල්කොහොල් අඩංගු hand sanitizer භාවිත කරන්න. ලෙඩ රෝග ඇති කරන විෂ බීජවලට එරෙහිව සටන් කරන්න. හඳුන්වා දීමේ මිල රුපියල් 350යි.
From AdaDerana, this is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9. I am Shanella Fernando. Moving on to your top stories for tonight. As Sri Lanka's showdown with the United Nations Human Rights Council looms, China yesterday reaffirmed its principle of non-interference and opposed the tendency of certain countries to meddle in the internal affairs of sovereign states under the pretext of human rights in Geneva. This was stated by China's ambassador and permanent representative to the United Nations in Geneva, Chen Zhu, when he addressed the 46th UNHRC sessions on behalf of a group of countries.
China's permanent representative to the UN in Geneva delivered a statement at the 46th UNHRC sessions yesterday, where he expressed his government's opposition to the politicization of human rights and what he termed double standards being displayed. Ambassador Chen Zhu added that China rejects acts of interference in other countries' internal affairs, undermining their sovereignty and international cooperation under what he termed the dishonest pretext of human rights based on political motivations.
I have the honor to speak on behalf of a group of countries. Non-interference in internal affairs of sovereign states is a core principle enshrined in the Charter of the United Nations and a basic norm governing international relations. The work of the Human Rights Council shall be guided by the principles of universality, impartiality, objectivity, and non-selectivity, constructive international dialogue and cooperation, according to Operative Paragraph 4 of General Assembly Resolution 60/251, which established this subsidiary body. We maintain that all sides should promote and protect human rights through genuine dialogue and cooperation. We oppose politicization of human rights and double standards. We reject acts of interference in other countries' internal affairs, undermining their sovereignty and international cooperation under the dishonest pretext of human rights. Out of political motivations, we call on states to abide by the purposes and principles of the UN Charter, respect the sovereignty and independence of others, and in the spirit of the Vienna Declaration and the Program of Action, jointly promote international cooperation in the field of human rights and abandon politicization of human rights and interference in other countries' internal affairs.
Sri Lanka's best health insurance with the fastest claim settlement. Soft Logic Life.
Pay just 500,000 rupees to reserve your unit today. Mulberry Residence.
President Gotabaya Rajapaksa insists that the only answer to high cost of living is to increase home incomes. Speaking to women representatives of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna, the president urged them to do the needful in order to clear out misunderstandings about the government's drive towards economic prosperity and a safe country. President Gotabaya Rajapaksa met with women representatives and activists of the Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna at the Presidential Secretariat yesterday.
බඩු මිල පාලනය කිරීමෙන් කවදාකවත් හිතන්න පුළුවන් වෙන්නේ නැහැ මේ ජීවන වියදම. ජීවන වියදමට මුහුණ දෙීමට හොඳම ක්‍රමය තමයි පවුලක ආදායම වැඩි කිරීම. අපි පහළම දුප්පත්ම තැන ඉඳලා ඉහළම තැනට එනකන් ආදායම වැඩි කරන්නට ශාල වැඩ කොටසක් කළා තියෙනවා. බදු අඩු කිරීම හරහාම අපි රජයේ සේවකයන්ට පවා අපි හුඟක් අය කතා කරන්නේ නැති දෙයක් තමයි පොයින විට පේ ටැක්ස් එක අහක් කරපු නිසා කොච්චර මුදලක් වැඩි වුණාද කියන පඩි වල පඩියක් වැඩි කරා වගේ. ඉතින් අපි පොදුවේ රටට ගන්න ප්‍රතිපත්ති වලින් ඒ අයට වෙන සහනය ගැන අපි හුඟක් වෙලාවට පෙන්නලා දෙන්නේ නැහැ. මහින්ද රාජපක්ෂ ජනාධිපතිතුමා මේ රටේ තිබුණු ත්‍රස්තවාදය විශාල කැපවීමක් කරලා අපිට පුළුවන් වුණා අවසන් කරන්නට. ඒ වගේම මේ කාලේ මම හිතන්නේ ඉතිහාසයේ කවදාකවත් නොදකපු සංවර්ධනයක් අපි මේ රටට ගෙනාවා. එහෙම කරලා මේ බොරු ප්‍රචාර වලට රැවටිලා 2015 දී එතුමාව පරාජයට පත් කරන්නට පුළුවන් වුණා. දැන් අපි මේකෙන් තමයි අපි ප්‍රවේශම් වෙන්නට ඕන. අපි කොපමණ වැඩ කළත් ඒ ගැන හරි අවබෝධයක් ජනතාව අතරට ගෙන ගියේ නැතොත් අපිට ජයග්‍රහණය කරන්නට නම් ඒ හරි මතවාදයේ ජනතාව අතරට ගෙනියන්නට ඕන. මේකෙන් පරාජය වෙන්නේ පුද්ගලයෙකු නෙවෙයි. බලන්න මහින්ද ජනාධිපතිතුමාගේ කාලේ ජාතික ආරක්ෂාව අපි තහවුරු කරා. පාතාලය කියන එක නැති කරා. ඒ පරාජය වුණාන් පස්සේ මොකක්ද වුනේ? ආර්ථිකය සම්පූර්ණයෙන්ම කඩාගෙන වැටුණා. රටේ ආරක්ෂාව සම්පූර්ණයෙන්ම කඩාගෙන වැටුණා. අපි ජනතාව අනවබෝධයෙන් වැරදි මතයකට ගියොත් අවසානයේදී කඩා වැටෙන්නේ මෙන්න මේ ප්‍රතිපත්ති මාලාවයි. පක්ෂයේ ප්‍රතිපත්ති මාලාව ආරක්ෂා කිරීම තමයි තාමත්ම වැදගත් වෙන්නේ.
Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa arrived in Bangladesh this morning on a two-day state visit at the invitation of his Bangladeshi counterpart, Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. During his address at the National Parade Square in Dhaka, the Prime Minister assured Bangladesh that Sri Lanka stands by its side to achieve greater freedom and prosperity. During his visit, the Prime Minister is set to sign several bilateral agreements with Bangladesh. Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa and his delegation left for Bangladesh this morning on a two-day state visit. The Prime Minister is on a diplomatic visit to Bangladesh at the invitation of his Bengali counterpart, Sheikh Hasina. The Prime Minister and his delegation were warmly received by the Prime Minister of Bangladesh at the Hazrat Shah Jalal International Airport in Dhaka this morning. Upon arrival, Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa was accorded a 21-gun salute and a guard of honour by the country's military. The Premier then paid his respects at the National Martyrs Memorial of Bangladesh, set up in memory of those who died during the Bangladesh War of Independence. Premier Rajapaksa also participated in the celebrations of the birth centenary of the former President of Bangladesh, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, who is also regarded as the father of the nation, and the Golden Jubilee of Bangladesh's independence. Premier Rajapaksa also delivered a special address.
Despite many challenges posed by the COVID-19 pandemic, I join you in person today with a message of solidarity from the people of Sri Lanka. The people of Bangladesh are celebrating two historic events. One is the birth of the father of their nation, Bangabandhu Sheikh Mujibur Rahman, the person of principles who dedicated his entire life for the Bengali people, their language and their well-being. Bangladesh continues to flourish under your able leadership. That is the best honor in the name of your esteemed father. As a neighbor and a close friend, Sri Lanka stands side by side with the Bangladesh to achieve greater freedom and prosperity. Our objective of economic transformation, eradication of poverty, and achieving the sustainable development goals remain three priorities in the middle of a great challenge. Few countries in the world have the kind of fertile land that we have. The geographical location of our two countries provide ample opportunities for us to enhance closer maritime, shipping, trade, and people-people contacts. Madam Prime Minister, your proposal to promote a blue economy in the Bay of Bengal continues to inspire our approach on maritime affairs. Bangladesh is considered one of the key emerging economic powerhouses in South Asia. It remains an important trading and investment partner for my country. Our exchanges have continued to grow rapidly during the last few decades. The great strides Bangladesh has made in the field of agriculture attract great attention in Sri Lanka. In addition to playing an active role through the SAARC Agricultural Center in Dhaka, Bangladesh continues to provide training and capacity building for our institutions. I seek your indulgence to share closer cooperation in this field.
The Prime Minister also had an audience with the Foreign Minister of Bangladesh. During the visit, the Prime Minister is set to hold bilateral talks with the Prime Minister of Bangladesh, Sheikh Hasina, the President of Bangladesh, Mohammad Abdul Hamid, and other senior officials of the country. Several bilateral agreements between the two countries are also set to be signed during the visit. More news on the other side of this break. Stay tuned.
Sunlight Care Naturals. ඔබේ ඇඳුම් care කරයි.
Welcome back. In more news, State Intelligence Service Chief Major General Suresh Saleh has lodged a complaint with the Criminal Investigations Department on recent comments made by Samagi Jana Balawege parliamentarian Nalin Bandara, alleging that he met with Zahran Hashim in Malaysia. The SIS chief says that the inflammatory comments could lead to tensions and hatred targeted him and the Malay community that he belongs to.
Kurunegala district parliamentarian Nalin Bandara made a controversial statement recently regarding the head of state intelligence Major General Suresh Saleh at a media briefing held on the 17th of this month.
අපි දන්නා සුරේෂ් සලේ මහත්තයා. සුරේෂ් සලේ මහත්තයා එක්තරා කාලයක මැලේසියාවේ ආරක්ෂක සම්බන්ධීකාරක විදියට තානාපති කාර්යාලයේ වැඩ කරා. එතකොට ලංකා ඊනිවුස් එකේ කොහොම පැහැදිලිව ලියලා තියෙනවා සහරාන් මැලේසියාවට ගිහිල්ලා සුරේෂ් සලේ මහත්තයා හම්බුණයි කියලා කාරණේ.
Based on this statement, the State Intelligence Service Chief lodged a complaint and recorded a statement with the CID today.
ඒ අනුව මේ මගින් කරුණු මගින් ජාතීන් අතර විසංවාදය ඇතිවන බවත් ඒ වගේම රාජ්‍ය බුද්ධි සේවය පිළිබඳව ජනතාවගේ ඇති විශ්වාසය බිඳවැටෙන බවත් තමා මැලේ ජාතිකයෙකු ලෙස විශේෂයෙන්ම මෙම ප්‍රහාරයෙන් මියගිය සහ තුවාල ලැබූ ජනතාව අතර අප්‍රසාදයට වෛරයට පත්වන බවත් තමාගේ පවුලේ සමාජිකයින්ටද එම කරුණු බලපාන බවත් සඳහන් කර තිබෙනවා. ඒ වගේම ඔහු සඳහන් කරන්නේ කිසිම අවස්ථාවක සහරාන් හෂීම් තමාට හමු නොවූ බව අපරාධ පරීක්ෂණ දෙපාර්තමේන්තුවේ නියෝජ්‍ය පොලිස්පතිවරයාගේ අධීක්ෂණය යටතේ සහකාර පොලිස් අධිකාරිවරයෙක්ගෙන් යුත් කණ්ඩායමක් මේ සඳහා විමර්ශන ආරම්භ කර තිබෙනවා.
Former Criminal Investigation Department head retired senior DIG Ravi Senaviratne has challenged the recommendations of the Presidential Commission of Inquiry probing political victimization that has named him as a respondent. The former CID chief's petition relates to a complaint lodged by former Navy Commander Admiral of the Fleet Wasantha Karannagoda and former Navy spokesperson Rear Admiral DKP Dasanayake.
Former Chief of the Criminal Investigation Department, retired Senior DIG Ravi Senaviratne, has filed a fundamental rights petition in the Supreme Court challenging the recommendations of the Presidential Commission of Inquiry that probed alleged incidents of political victimization. The former CID head has sought a court order revoking the recommendations included in the final report of the Presidential Commission. In his petition, Senaviratne stresses that it is unlawful to name him as a respondent in the PCOI recommendations in respect of a complaint against the alleged abduction and disappearance of 11 youths in the custody of the Navy in 2008 and 2009. Several former naval officials, including ex-Navy Commander Admiral of the Fleet Wasantha Karannagoda and former Navy spokesman Rear Admiral DKP Dasanayake, lodged a complaint with the PCOI against the case filed by the CID, claiming that they were victims of a CID political witch hunt. In January 2020, President Gotabaya Rajapaksa appointed a presidential commission to inquire into political victimization that occurred from January 8, 2015 to November 16, 2019. The commission was entrusted with the task of inquiring into such allegations in the wake of investigations conducted by the Commission to investigate allegations of bribery or corruption, the FCID, the CID, and the Special Investigation Unit of the Police. The commission handed over its final report to the President on the 8th of December 2020.
Freelance journalist Sujiva Gamage, who claims that he was abducted and assaulted recently, denied that he fabricated the incident as revealed by the police media spokesperson. A lengthy investigation by Colombo Crimes Division personnel concluded that the victim's claims were fabricated. However, the victim says that he made confess under duress.
A freelance journalist at the Sierra newspaper named Sujiva Gamage had lodged a complaint with the police alleging that he was abducted and burnt by a group of people on the 10th of this month with the intention of obtaining an audio recording in his possession. Police investigating the incident yesterday concluded that the incident was fabricated. The journalist who was allegedly abducted today responded to the allegations leveled by the police.
ටිකට් එකේ අස්සම් කළා ඉස්පිරිතාලට දෙන්න ඕන පාස් එකක් දීලා මාව එළියට අරන් එනකොට තමයි අරගොල්ලෝ මාව අරගෙන දෙමඩකොටට ගිනිච්චේ. ඊට පස්සේ මගෙන් පැයක් විතර ඒගොල්ලෝ එක එක ප්‍රශ්න ඇහුවා. ඊට පස්සේ මගේ වයිෆ් ගෙන්නුවා. වයිෆ් ගෙන්නලා වයිෆ් රාත්‍රී 11 මාර වෙනකම් වයිෆ් ගෙන් එක එක ප්‍රශ්න කළා වයිෆ් මේව කළා වයිෆ් පපුවට ගහගෙන අඬන තත්ත්වයටපත් කෙරුවා. එයා එළියට යනකොට කිව්වේ වොයිස් කට් එහෙම දෙන්න එපා. ඔයා රජයේ සේවිකාවා වොයිස් කට් දීලා තිබුණොත් ලොකු ප්‍රශ්නයක් වෙයි. අනිත් එක ඔයාගේ මහත්තයා එළියට එන්න හම්බ වෙන්නෙත් නැහැ කියලා. ඊට පස්සේ එතන ඉඳලා ආයිත් දෙක විතර වෙනකම් මගෙන් එක නොයෙකුත් කාරණා ප්‍රශ්න කරුවා. මොකද මට මේ වෙලාවේ කියන්න බැරි මොකද නඩුවක් තියෙනවා. ඒ වෙලේ මම හිටපු මානසිකත්වයත් එක්ක ඒගොල්ලෝ මොනවද කියන්නේ? ඒගොල්ලෝ බෝම්බයක් බාරගත්තත් කිව්වොත් මම බාර ගන්නවා. මොකද මට ඒකට බලපෑම් එක්ක. මට කරගන්න මේක පිස්සුවක් නෑ මට. ඒක මං උසාවියේදී කියන්න. පොලිස් මාධ්‍ය ප්‍රකාශකගේ මං ඒක පිළිගන්නේ නෑ.
Meanwhile, the Colombo Crimes Division summoned MP Rajitha Senaratne and his son Chandra Senaratne for questioning over a meeting with the journalist on the day of his abduction. However, the father-son duo had not arrived at the Colombo Crimes Division today and have informed that they will appear before the Crimes Division next Monday.
3 Sri Lankan fishing boats with 330 kilograms of heroin, an AK-47 rifle and 1,000 rounds of ammunition have been seized by the Indian Coast Guard yesterday near the Lakshadweep Islands. The Indian Coast Guard had also previously intercepted 3 Sri Lankan boats, detained 12 suspects and narcotics aboard the vessels earlier this month.
The Indian Coast Guard intercepted 3 Sri Lankan fishing boats near the Lakshadweep Islands and seized a large cache of drugs found on board. According to preliminary information, the Coast Guard seized 300 kilograms of heroin, an AK-47 rifle and 1,000 rounds of ammunition from the boats. According to the Indian Navy, a Dornier aircraft had been tracking 7 Sri Lankan boats that were moving in the Arabian Sea for the past 8 days. The aircraft passed the information to the Southern Naval Command, and the Indian Navy, in coordination with the Coast Guard, launched a swift operation to intercept the boats. The boats were intercepted around 90 nautical miles southwest of Minicoy Islands last afternoon. The Indian Coast Guard had previously intercepted 3 Sri Lankan boats, detained 12 persons and seized narcotics off Vilindam, located close to Thiruvananthapuram, India, on the 7th of this month.
We'll return after this short commercial break. Stay tuned. Welcome back. In other news, State Minister of Primary Healthcare, Epidemics and COVID Disease Control, Dr. Sudarshini Fernandopulle, says that those with health complications need not fear receiving the vaccine, as no adverse side effects or deaths have been reported yet. Meanwhile, the State Minister stated that the government has reserved a stock of vaccines for the second round of jabs for those already having received the first.
Speaking on the country's national vaccination program, State Minister of Primary Healthcare, Epidemics and COVID Disease Control, Dr. Sudarshini Fernandopulle, says that people with health complications can be vaccinated as there has been no deaths or severe reactions reported to date.
ජනවාරි 29 ලබා දීපු අයට අප්‍රේල් 29 වෙනකොට තමයි දෙවෙනි මාත්‍රාව ලබා දෙන්න තියෙන්නේ. හැබැයි අද වෙනකොට ලෝක සෞඛ්‍ය සංවිධානය කියනවා හැම රටකටම මේ එන්නත් ලබා ගැනීමේ විශාල තරගයක් තියෙනවා. ඒ නිසා මාත්‍රා දෙක ටික දෙනෙකුට ලබා දෙනවට වඩා එක මාත්‍රාව වැඩි දෙනෙකුට ලබා දෙන එක හොඳයි කියලා. මොකද පළවෙනි මාත්‍රාව හරහත් මේ ආසාදනයේ පැතිරීම 167කින් අඩු වෙනවා කියන එක තහවුරු කරලා තියෙන නිසා ඒ හින්දා දෙවෙනි මාත්‍රාව අපි සූදානම් දැනට එන්නත් ඔගයක් වෙන් කරලා තබාගෙන තියෙනවා. ජනවාරි 29 එන්නත් ගත්ත අයට දෙවෙනි මාත්‍රාව ලබා දෙන්න කියලා. ලංකාවේ සති 10 සහ 12 අතර තමයි දෙවෙනි එන්නත් මාත්‍රාව ලබා දෙන්න කියලා කියන්නේ. ඒ අතර අපිට විශ්වාසය තියෙනවා අපිට දෙවෙනි ලක්ෂ 5 තොගයක් ලංකාවට ලැබෙයි කියලා. අපි රෝගීන් හැටියට වෙන් කරන්නේ නැහැ. දැන් අවුරුදු 60ට වැඩි අය සඳහා මේ එන්නත් කරණය පහුගිය සතිය පුරාම ක්‍රියාත්මක වෙනවා. විශේෂයෙන්ම කොළඹ සහ සහ ගම්පහ දිස්ත්‍රික්කයේ තෝරාගත් ග්‍රාම නිලධාරී වසම්වල වැඩියෙන්ම රෝගීන් වාර්තා වෙච්ච මරණ සිදු වෙච්ච ග්‍රාම නිලධාරී වසම්වල මේ වෙනකොටත් 60ට වැඩි අය සඳහා එන්නත්කරණය සිද්ධ වෙනවා. ඒ හරහා එන්නත් ලබා ගැනීමේ හැකියාව තියෙනවා. වයස 60ට වැඩි නම් සංකූලතා තියෙනවද නැද්ද හැමෝටම ලබා ගන්න පුළුවන්. විශාල සංකූලතා කිසිවෙක් වාර්තා වෙලා නැහැ. කිසිම මරණයක් මේ එන්නත නිසා සිද්ධ වුණේ නැහැ.
Meanwhile, a total of 815,585 persons have received the Oxford AstraZeneca vaccine so far. In the meantime, 313 coronavirus infections were reported in the country yesterday. The Colombo district topped the daily list of infections with 103 cases, while the Gamba district reported 66 infections. The Mathura district confirmed 29 COVID-19 cases, the Kandy district reported 16, and the Vaunia district recorded 12. In addition, 17 other districts reported 73 cases, while the remaining 11 infections were identified among Sri Lankan returnees. Meanwhile, the country's overall number of recoveries rose by 283 to 86,227 today. As such, the number of active COVID-19 cases in the country currently stand at 2,410.
The Department of Meteorology says that we can expect showers and thunder showers exceeding 100 millimeters over the island during the next few days. The department also announced that wind speeds of 20 to 30 kilometers per hour can be expected in the island, around the island rather, causing rough sea conditions.
The Department of Meteorology says there's a high possibility of evening thunder showers to take place over most parts of the island during the next few days. The department says that heavy rainfall above 100 millimeters can be expected at some areas in the Sabaragamu, southern, western, central and northwestern provinces. Showers can also be expected in the eastern and the Uva provinces during the morning. The central, Sabaragamu and western provinces are also expected to experience misty conditions during the morning hours. As such, the Meteorology Department has urged the general public to take required precautions in order to minimize damage caused by temporary, localized strong wind and lightning during thunder showers. The Meteorology Department also forecasts that showers or thunder showers might occur in sea areas off the coast of Galle to Batiklo via Hambantota. Such weather conditions are expected in several places in the sea areas off the coast extending from Puttalam to Galle via Colombo towards the evening. In the meantime, wind speeds of around 20 to 30 kilometers per hour can be expected in the seas around the island and can increase up to 40 kilometers per hour. Such strong winds can be expected over the seas extending from Hambantota to Potuvil and Puttalam to Kankasanture via Mana. The Meteorology Department says that the seas extending from Hambantota to Potuvil can be fairly rough at times and that temporary strong gusty winds and very rough seas can be expected during thunder showers.
In business news, the Monetary Board of the Central Bank has decided to increase the maximum compensation payment under Sri Lanka Deposit Insurance Scheme from 600,000 rupees to 1.1 million rupees. This decision has been taken to provide further relief to the depositors of financial institutions regulated by the Central Bank in the event of a cancellation or suspension of the licenses of such institutions. Accordingly, the depositors of 6 finance companies, namely Central Investments and Finance PLC, the Standard Credit Finance Limited, TKS Finance Limited, the Finance Company PLC, ETI Finance Limited and Swarna Mahal Financial Services PLC, whose licenses have been cancelled or suspended by the Monetary Board, are eligible to receive the revised compensation rather. The depositors of the companies who have not yet obtained any compensation payment are also requested to apply for compensation under the revised maximum amount of 1.1 million rupees. The payment mechanism and the date of commencement of payments under the increased compensation threshold will be notified by the Central Bank in due course. Sri Lankan shares closed lower today for a 5th straight session, dragged down by losses in industrial, financial and consumer staple stocks. The CSE All Share Price Index closed down 1.1% at 6,854.32 and closed 5.42% lower for the week, while the S&P SL 20 index of more liquid stocks fell 0.62% or 17.33 points to close at 2,757.45. Here's Dimantha Matthew with the day's stock market report.
So the market is down for yet another day. We are seeing a downward trend for the 5th consecutive day in the week. So this downward trend is frustrating for some of the investors. So what we are seeing is now the index has fallen below the 6,900 mark as well. Today ending at 6,854 points, down 76 points. So the level of the index is now at a 11-week low.
The rupee closed marginally stronger today at 198 to 199 rupees against the dollar after closing at 198 rupees and 50 cents to 199 rupees yesterday. Let's now take a look at how the rupee traded against other major currencies during the day. With that, we wrap up tonight's edition of First at 9. Thank you for joining. Have a good night.